You're sitting there at the end of another long month, staring at your bank account, and doing that math you've done 100 times before. Rent just hit again. $3,200 gone, just like that. And you think about all the months before this one, all the years you've been writing checks or clicking payment buttons, watching thousands and thousands of dollars disappear into someone else's pocket. You've paid enough rent over the last 5 years to buy a decent car outright, maybe 2 cars, and yet you own nothing. Not a single square foot of anything. Just receipts and confirmation emails and a lease that reminds you every 12 months that none of this belongs to you. Then your landlord sends that email. The one you've been dreading. Rent's going up another $175 starting next month. They phrase it nicely, something about market rates and property improvements, but all you hear is that you're about to pay even more for the exact same apartment. You sit back in your chair and feel that familiar weight in your chest. The weight of knowing you're stuck. Because where else are you going to go? Every other place costs just as much or more, and even if you wanted to move, you'd need first month, last month, and a deposit. So you stay, and you pay, and the cycle continues. But then you hear something that doesn't quite make sense. Someone at work mentions that their cousin just bought a house in Sacramento with no money down. You laugh it off at first because that sounds impossible. You've looked at home prices. You've run the numbers on mortgage calculators late at night when you couldn't sleep. You know what a down payment looks like in California. It's $40,000, $50,000, sometimes more. It's a wall so high you stopped trying to climb it years ago. So when someone says they bought a house with nothing down, your brain immediately files it under too good to be true. Except you keep hearing about it. A friend of a friend did it. Someone's sister qualified. And slowly, that dismissive laugh turns into a question. A real one. What if it's actually possible? What if there's something out there you didn't know about? And more importantly, what if you've been sitting on the sidelines all this time while other people in the same situation as you, walked through a door you didn't even know existed? So let me be completely clear right now. California has a real program, run by a real estate agency called CalHFA, the California Housing Finance Agency, that helps people buy homes without needing a traditional down payment. This isn't a scam. It's not a clickbait scheme. It's not some shadowy loophole that's going to blow up in your face. It's an official state housing program designed specifically for people who can afford a monthly mortgage but can't save up the massive lump sum needed to get started. And yes, it's available right now. Here's how it works in the simplest terms. The state knows you're already paying rent that's as high or higher than a mortgage payment would be. Your problem isn't affordability on a monthly basis. Your problem is the down payment. That giant pile of cash sitting between you and home ownership. So instead of expecting you to somehow save $30,000 while paying $3,500 a month in rent, California lends you that down payment. They give it to you as what's called a silent second loan. Silent because you don't make monthly payments on it. It just sits there quietly in the background until you eventually sell the home, refinance, or pay off your main mortgage. And the interest rate on that loan is only 1%. Not a variable rate that's going to jump on you. Not some teaser rate that explodes after 2 years. Just 1% simple interest, which in a world of credit cards charging 28% and car loans hitting double digits, feels almost unreal. But it gets better. If you truly don't have any money for closing costs either, the program can cover those too with a separate loan at 0% interest. Also with no monthly payments. Which means in the most literal sense, you can walk into a home in California with $0 up front. Not because someone's giving you free money, but because the state is lending you a bridge to cross the part of the process you simply cannot cross on your own. Now I know what you're thinking. Who actually qualifies for this? Because programs like this always have some catch that disqualifies regular people, right? Well, here's where it gets interesting. The definition of a first-time home buyer in California is not what you think. You don't have to have never owned a home in your entire life. The actual rule is this. If you haven't owned and lived in a home in the past 3 years, you count as a first-time buyer. That's it. So if you owned a condo 10 years ago and sold it, you qualify. If you went through a divorce 5 years back and your ex kept the house, you qualify. If you inherited a property but never lived in it, you qualify. The program looks at where you are right now, not your entire history. But here's where the rules get strict, and you need to pay attention. If anyone on your loan application owned and lived in a home within the last 3 years, the entire application becomes ineligible. So if you're married and your spouse lived in a house they owned 2 years ago, even if your name wasn't on it, you don't qualify. If your partner still has their name on the title of their old place, you don't qualify. And if you were thinking about having a parent or family member co-sign to boost your income, that won't work either. Co-signers have to actually live in the home with you. You can't use someone else's income unless they're moving in. These rules sound harsh, but they exist for a reason. The program is designed for people who are genuinely trying to enter the housing market on their own, not for people who already have a foothold or a safety net somewhere else. Let me walk you through exactly how the 3 loans work because this is where everything clicks into place. Let's say you find a home that costs $400,000, which in many California markets is a modest starter home or condo. Your main mortgage, the first loan, covers 97% of that price. So you're borrowing $388,000, and that's the loan you'll make monthly payments on just like any regular mortgage. The remaining 3%, which is $12,000, is your down payment. And that's where the second loan comes in. The state lends you that full $12,000 through the down payment assistance program. You don't pay it monthly. It just sits there accruing 1% simple interest until you sell or refinance. Then there are closing costs, which typically run anywhere from $8,000 to $15,000 depending on the specifics of your transaction. If you need help with that too, the third loan covers it at 0% interest, also with no monthly payments. So in this scenario, you've just bought a $400,000 home, and the only payment you're making each month is on that main $388,000 mortgage. Everything else waits quietly in the background. Now let's talk about what this actually means for renters, because that's who this program really changes everything for. If you're paying $3,200 a month in rent right now, you're already proving you can handle a significant monthly housing payment. You're budgeting for it, you're making it work, and you're doing it without building any equity or gaining any stability. A mortgage payment on a $400,000 home in California, depending on your interest rate and property taxes, might run you somewhere between $3,000 and $3,600 a month. Which means you're likely already paying as much or more than you'd pay as a homeowner. The only difference is that right now, every single dollar you pay disappears. When you own, every payment chips away at a loan that's attached to an asset you control. But the real shift isn't just financial. It's emotional and psychological. Renters live with a specific kind of uncertainty that homeowners often forget about. You live knowing that your landlord could decide to sell. Could decide to raise the rent beyond what you can handle. Could decide they want to move a family member in and not renew your lease. You're always one decision away from having to pack up and start over. And if you have kids, that instability cuts even deeper. It's the fear of having to pull them out of a school they love because you got priced out of the neighborhood. It's the hesitation to really settle in and make the place feel like home because you know it's temporary. Owning a home removes that specific anxiety. It gives you control. Not perfect control, because property taxes can go up and homeowners insurance can increase, but control over whether you get to stay. No one can send you an email in December saying your rent's going up $200 and you have 30 days to decide if you're staying or leaving. Your mortgage payment is locked in for the length of your loan. You know what it's going to be next year and the year after that. And every month you make that payment, you're building equity. Slowly, steadily, you're creating something that belongs to you. For younger people, this program represents a chance to start building wealth years earlier than you thought possible. When you're in your 20s or 30s, time is one of your biggest advantages. Every year you spend renting is a year you're not building equity. And over a decade or two, that difference compounds in ways that shape your entire financial future. Starting earlier means more time for your home to appreciate, more time to pay down your mortgage, more opportunity to refinance or leverage that equity for other goals. For families raising kids, the stability matters more than almost anything else. It's not just about money. It's about giving your children a sense of permanence. A place where they can grow up without the fear of sudden moves. A neighborhood they can call home without an expiration date hanging over it. And for parents, it's the relief of knowing that the effort you're putting into monthly payments is building something your family actually benefits from. And if you're older, if retirement isn't some distant concept anymore but something you can see approaching, this program takes on a different kind of weight. Because one of the quiet fears many older renters carry is what happens when you're on a fixed income and your landlord raises the rent again. What happens when you can't keep up anymore? Owning a home, even with a mortgage, gives you a foundation. Your payment doesn't change. And once that mortgage is paid off, your housing costs drop dramatically. It's the difference between aging with security and aging with fear. But I'm not going to stand here and pretend this program is perfect or risk-free, because it's not. There are real dangers you need to understand before you jump in. The biggest one is stepping into homeownership with absolutely no financial cushion. If you use every available dollar to cover your down payment and closing costs through these loans, and you walk into your new home with $1,000 in your bank account, you're one emergency away from serious trouble. When the water heater breaks, that's $1,200. When the roof starts leaking, that's $3,000. When the HVAC system gives out, that could be $5,000 or more. Renters don't think about these costs because landlords handle them. But when you own the home, every repair is your responsibility. And if you don't have savings to cover those surprises, you'll end up putting them on credit cards or taking out personal loans, which defeats the entire purpose of trying to build financial stability. Another major risk is how slowly equity builds when you start with no down payment. In the first few years of a mortgage, most of your monthly payment goes toward interest, not principal. So your equity grows very slowly at first. If home prices drop even slightly, or if you need to sell sooner than you planned, you might find that the sale price doesn't cover all 3 loans attached to your property. Which means you'd either have to bring cash to closing, cash you probably don't have, or you'd be stuck unable to sell. That feeling of being trapped in a home you can't afford to keep but also can't afford to leave is a nightmare scenario that happens more often than people realize. There's also the reality that the program has strict rules, and even small changes in your life can knock you out of eligibility. If your income drops because your hours get cut at work, you might no longer qualify. If your debt-to-income ratio shifts because you took on a car loan or had to use a credit card for an emergency, that could disqualify you. If your credit score dips because of a medical bill or a late payment, lenders might pull your approval. Renting gives you flexibility. You can move, you can downsize, you can adjust when life changes. Owning, especially with layered loans, locks you into commitments that are much harder to escape. And then there's the temptation to stretch beyond what you can truly afford. When someone tells you that you don't need a down payment, it's easy to think, maybe I can go a little higher on price. Maybe I can afford something just a bit nicer. And before you know it, you've approved a mortgage payment that leaves no room for anything else. No room for car repairs, medical bills, vacations, or even just breathing. It's not the program that fails you in that scenario. It's the decision to buy more house than you can handle. So before you take this leap, you need to ask yourself some hard questions. Do you have at least a few $1,000s set aside for emergencies after you close? Are you confident your job and income are stable? Do you understand what it costs to maintain a home, not just to make the mortgage payment? Are you mentally and emotionally ready to take on the responsibility of ownership, with all the stress and uncertainty that comes with it? Because this program works best for people who walk in with their eyes open. People who see it as a tool, not a magic solution. But here's the other side of that coin. If you wait for the perfect moment, it's never going to come. There's never going to be a time when you have $40,000 saved, zero debt, a perfect credit score, and complete certainty about the future. Life doesn't work that way, especially not in California. And while you're waiting for everything to line up perfectly, rent keeps rising. Home prices keep climbing. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be keeps widening. This program doesn't eliminate risk. But it does eliminate the single biggest barrier that's kept you out of the housing market. And for many people, that's enough. It's the difference between spending another decade renting and finally taking a real step toward building something of your own. It's the chance to stop feeling like you're treading water and start feeling like you're moving forward. The truth is, programs like this don't last forever. Budgets get cut. Rules change. Political priorities shift. And housing markets move faster than most people expect. Waiting another year isn't just waiting. It's another $40,000 or $50,000 gone to rent. Another 12 months with zero equity. Another year where your life moves forward but your financial situation stays stuck in place. So if you've spent years believing that home ownership in California was something for other people, people with better luck or wealthier parents or perfect timing, maybe it's time to reconsider. Maybe the door you thought was closed is actually open, and it's been open this whole time. You just didn't know where to look. And now that you do, the only question left is whether you're ready to walk through it. Not someday. Not when everything is perfect. But now, while the opportunity is still here. If this video helped you see a path you didn't know existed, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Because understanding your options is the first step. And taking action is the second. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.